Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. A little bit of stakes recap action coming up after a big stakes day. Belmount Aqueduct, Churchill, Woodbine, the Woodbine Mile, the two 3-year-old turf races, the males and the females at Aqueduct, and Churchill Downs with some nice 2-year-old action and beyond. A little bit later on, we will be joined by Steve Bick, my Sunday morning partner on Loose on the Lead, and of course Sirius and XM Radio as well. Steve has been on a road trip, started at Presque, and I believe is going to end tomorrow at Presque with the Masters, and we'll hit on a little of that Presque, but also he was down at Kentucky Downs. Last couple of days he was at Churchill. He was in the winner's circle yesterday, gave out the trophy, I believe, in the Pocahontas, or it was the Iroquois, I think, a little bit earlier than that. Gave out the trophy, so it's nice to see Steve in the mix, but we'll be joined by him and get a little update on his road trip and some of his thoughts on racing action as well. All of that coming up today. Going back to yesterday, and it's college football time. It's football time altogether, but Syracuse, as a Syracuse alum, now I'm strapped back in for some football action. The last few years, I have not been paying a whole lot of attention to football, unless, you flip by and there's a close game and you stick around. But Syracuse and the Jets are my two teams, and the last few years has not been kind. But Syracuse yesterday with a nice win over Purdue. Unfortunately, Saturdays with college football, I'm usually sitting in here. And so I was running out into the race book to catch some of the game, kind of following it on the computer. I went out for the end of the game. Man, it was a slugfest over the last, I want to say the combined two teams in the last quarter yesterday, Purdue and Syracuse, put up 42 points in the fourth quarter. So fun game. Syracuse comes out ahead, 3-0 now. So I have something to latch onto football-wise this year. But I will also say this morning I pulled up, you can find the last about minute and a half or so on YouTube, Appalachian State and Troy. Yikes. Memories of Doug Flutie in Boston College and the miracle throw there. As I say, you can check it out there. About the last minute and a half is on YouTube. Appalachian State yesterday, and it was crazy. It's worth watching. It was, unless we're a fan of Troy, then maybe it was a little bit disappointing. But it just as having no dog in the fight. It was fun to watch that one. So some nice college football yesterday, and I bring that up because today, pro football, and don't forget, NFL Sundays, you can come down here to the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, and enjoy all the NFL football action and all the racing action. So if you're a football fan, football junkie, our TVs at the far side of the room are all tuned to the games, and you can follow along. If you wear a jersey, you get in for free. Put your name on the squares, maybe a winner jersey or a restaurant voucher. Always fun to swing by the Racebook on Sundays during the NFL season for NFL Sundays. Again, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, let's get to some of that action from yesterday, and we'll kick things off taking a look at the action from Belmont. Again, they were wrapping up their turf triple series for the 3-year-old girls and the 3-year-old boys. Kicked off with the Jockey Club Oaks Invitational, mile and 3/8 on the turf down at the Big A, and the favorite was McCulloch from Chad Brown and Klarovich. Irod Ortiz on board. Toscana Bell was the clear second choice, foreign invader coming in from a win in the German Oaks. And they will duke it out down the lane here. You can see the Klarovich colors on the outside. And there in the last 16th of a mile or so starts to get the advantage and does get it done. Nice little late run from Miss Yearwood, the 5-horse, the rank outsider at 23-1 from Ian Wilkes. But it was McCulloch getting it done, as I say. Favored, won 2 legs of that turf triple for the females, won the Belmont Oaks in July, and then in August ran in the Saratoga Oaks and wound up second to With the Moonlight, but gets it done here in the Jockey Club's Oaks Invitational yesterday. Again, to win a couple of the legs of that turf triple. Win number 3 and start number 7, so 3 wins, 3 seconds, and a third in 7 starts. Nice talented runner for Chad Brown and Klarovich, daughter of Frankel, looking pretty good. Chart margin wound up to be a half a length there for the 4-5 favorite in the Jockey Club Oaks Invitational. On the boys' side of things, favoritism played out again. McCulloch, as the favorite, got it done, and in the Jockey Club Derby yesterday at 1.5 miles on the grass, favored was Nation's Pride, coming out of a win in the second leg of this series up at Saratoga. Had run second, close up and a good second, to Classic Causeway in the Belmont Derby opener back in July. Classic Causeway that day just had it all his own way on the front end. Classic Causeway winds up running third. The number 1 horse, the Gray Wizard, the number 4, winds up fourth. But as you can see, they are chasing. Chart margin here is over 6 lengths. This was a nice dominating performance. Frankie Dettori on board, had the flying dismount after the race, as has become his signature over his career. But Nation's Pride for Charlie Appleby stayed in the United States after the Saratoga win. Was training right up here at Saratoga. So another one that won as the favorite yesterday, $3.10. And also, like McCulloch, won 2 of the 3 legs. This one, the Saratoga leg, and this return down to downstate, third leg of the series, running, as I say, second as the favorite behind Classic Causeway. But in Classic Causeway, if you remember that Belmont Derby, there was a scratch early on. Well, there was a scratch before the race that left Classic Causeway as potentially the lone speed, and that's the way it worked out at 26-1 for Classic Causeway in the Belmont Derby. Classic Causeway wound up third in the Saratoga Derby, third again yesterday. So he ran well in the series also, put a nice little chunk of money in the bank. But Nation's Pride for Charlie Appleby, getting it done in the Jockey Club Derby down at Belmont yesterday. So again, the 2 favorites in the 2 legs of the series for the boys and the girls, wrapping up that turf series, which I think is kind of fun. Become fun, and I think, you know, we get the season started a little bit early summer down in New York. That gets the juices flowing, and then you get the 2 races up at Saratoga. That's fun as well. So again, I think it was a good idea, and it's played out nicely, and getting some foreign runners in there, that's always fun as well. So no complaints from me anyway so far. I'm sure somewhere out on Twitter people hate this. Hate it, as is Twitter, but so far I think the series has worked out nicely. We will move on to the Woodbine series. Nice series of stakes races yesterday. It was highlighted by the Woodbine Mile, but we'll kind of work our way backwards. The 2-2-year-old turf races, again, for the boys and the girls, that wound up in the last race. Well, I say the last race. There was a situation, and I didn't hear anything more than the 12th and final at Woodbine yesterday was canceled, and from what I read, due to a medical situation with the track veterinarian. So I'm assuming, if there's no vet available, they can't really race, and it sounded like there was something going on with the veterinarian. Hope for the best for him or her, I'm not sure. But as I say, that's kind of all I read. I didn't kind of follow up this morning to see if there was more available this morning. That was what I read last night. But the last race, they didn't run, wound up not running the very last race at Woodbine last night. But that would have been race 12. Race 10 was the Natalma, so that went off as scheduled. We will take a look at that one, and Kevin Attard gets it done with Last Call. This one, a maiden, and so went off at a price, the longest price on the board. You can see they're all bunched up there. Last Call is the number 5. Cairo Concert, the number 1, and G. Laurie, the 3. I like G. Laurie in here. And that one, makes a little run here to wind up 3rd, but no threat, obviously, to the winner. Last Call getting it done. Kevin Attard after the race saying, we always had kind of high hopes for this horse. The debut, back on July 23rd, the horse ran 2nd behind Cairo Consort. Follow-up was a 4th place finish, and Kevin Attard said, they were disappointed with that and had felt there were some excuses perhaps. He said they always had high hopes for Last Call, and they expected Last Call to get better when stretching out. And that seemed to be the case yesterday. Hernandez on board, one of the top riders up there at Woodbine annually, and he gets it done in the Natalma. Chart margin was a length, and again, $44.30 as the longest price on the board, getting it done in the Natalma. And Attard said they would, take a look at the Breeders' Cup as well. So we'll see where she goes next. But again, nice performance for a maiden, stepping it up and getting it done in a Grade 1 in her 3rd career start. And again, did seem to appreciate the stretch out as well. The highlight yesterday at Woodbine, and again, I said it yesterday when we had Klaus Ebner on, sad not to be up there. We've gone up for Woodbine Mile weekend a number of years. The pandemic kind of put a kibosh on that, at least for the time being. So sad that we weren't up there for that nice day, because it's fun racing, it's a nice facility, they treat us well. And again, I continue to recommend, if you haven't been up, you take the thruway to Buffalo, take a right turn, and it's worth the trip. And I said yesterday, if you time it right, I think you can do a little, like a 3-day Woodbine, Fort Erie, catch some Finger Lakes as well on the way home. So keep that in mind at some point. But yesterday, the highlight was the Woodbine Mile. We weren't there, but it was still fun to watch. I put Modern Games on top, as did most people, 75 cents to the dollar. Came out of a 2nd place finish to the Horse of the World, Baid. Modern Games is the number 5 horse. You can see separating himself from the field, and when he separates and gets going, he separates. The chart margin just over 5 lengths. Ivar, the clear 2nd choice in the wagering, the 2 lines up 2nd. Finest Sound 3rd. But you can see they are well behind a very talented Modern Games. And again, the winner, I was going to say the controversial winner. It wasn't the controversial winner. The winner of the controversial Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year, where the horse was eventually declared a non-betting interest and wind up racing, for purse only and winning, leaving a lot of people, even locally here, sitting on the outside looking in and not happy with the result. And that was reflected, in the results yesterday, in the call and Twitter afterwards, and finally gets it done, and you finally get paid for Modern Games getting it done in the Woodbine Mile yesterday. Coming out of that 2nd behind Baid, just continues to emphasize how talented that horse is. William Buick in for the ride. Charlie Appleby gets it done. And somebody said, let me see if I have it here, the Belmont at the Big A race, the Jockey Club Derby Invitational, won by Charlie Appleby, went off at 5:46. This one went off at 5:43. That was another thing somebody was complaining about online. That I'm not going to disagree with as a Twitter complaint. I think it's a general complaint. These tracks with some of the big races yesterday were kind of overlapping in a strange move. But regardless, Belmont Derby goes off at 5:46 according to the chart. The Woodbine Mile, also won by Charlie Appleby, 5:43. Pretty good 5 minutes for Charlie Appleby with the Woodbine Mile and the Jockey Club Derby. A little bit earlier on the card at Woodbine, we'll take a look at the Seaway. I like Lady Spitespear in here. She came in off a couple of wins in stakes action up at Woodbine. She'd won the Nassau back in July. In August, she'd won the Trillium, went out for Roger Atfield. Charlie Fipke was in the winner's circle afterwards. He was really enthusiastic about her, and you can see how gutsy she is. Roger Hatfield and Fipke both commented on it. She's the 9 horse, and it looked at the top of the stretch like they might go by. Still looked like, about the 16th pole or so, the others had a chance, but she just said, no, nobody going by. Went off as the 7-5 favorite. You got $4.90. Emma Jane Wilson on board. Hazelbrook ran second. Super Sensational ran third in there. But Lady Spitespear getting it done in the Seaway yesterday at Woodbine for, as I say, Roger Hatfield and Charlie Fipke. And kind of fun to see Emma Jane Wilson on board. She's been on board for all 3 of these stakes wins that make up this current streak for Lady Spitespear. 4-year-old filly, win number 7 in career start number 12. This is a really nice runner for Fipke and Hatfield. By Spites Down out of Lady Shakespeare has lived up to some nice breeding. She's now 3 for 3 over the synthetic at Woodbine, and that's kind of interesting too. She can go back and forth because the stakes win 2 races prior to yesterday. The Nassau was on the turf. The prior race and yesterday, the Trillium and the Seaway were on the synthetic, and you look down the form, and she kind of goes back and forth and has done well at other venues also on their courses. So she's a little bit versatile, but obviously really appreciates Woodbine and got it done again yesterday in the Seaway. And finally, we'll take a look at the 2-year-old boys in the summer yesterday at Woodbine. I played around with Sammy Stone. I talked with Klaus Ebner yesterday, and he thought Sammy Stone would be a clever selection as well. Sammy Stone's going to be the number 5 horse, and it was not clever at all. And if you watch the jock and in the Sammy Stone's in those yellow silks down on the rail, just hits the nobody near and runs into the rail. So it's like, oh, that's not good. And so the clever selection never gets it done. Betting public, though, was on it. Mysterious Night not only wins as the 55 cent to $1 favorite, but wins very easily. Almost 6 lengths was the victory. Once again, it's Charlie Appleby with William Buick on board. Appraise runs second for Chad and Klarovich, and Philip My Dear runs third. That one was undefeated coming in for Kevin Attard. Now winds up with a 3rd place finish on the record. Still, obviously a promising career ahead, you would have to think, for Philip My Dear, being lightly raced. Same with Appraise. That was only her 2nd start, first time stretching out. Mysterious Night was the most experienced in the field and had run well in group company, winning a Group 3 prior to yesterday. So again, the betting public was on that one. Charlie Appleby, a European runner with some talent, lived up to the confidence of the betting public, getting it done. And again, another nice part of a nice afternoon for Charlie Appleby. I mean, that one was at 4:25, so we're talking over the course of about less than an hour and a half. 3 Grade 1 races. Or the Jockey Club Derby, that's a good question. That one was actually a Grade 3 and a couple of Grade 1s, but the Grade 3 had a nice $1 million purse. So I guess, the black type isn't quite as black there, but the green was very green. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will shift our attention to the stakes action at Churchill. Don't forget, a little later on, we will be joined by Steve Bick, who is on a road trip. Was at Churchill yesterday, so we'll get some thoughts there, and we'll talk a little bit about tomorrow. He's headed to Presque Downs. Going to be looking at the Masters for tomorrow. Caravel will be in action at Presque Isle tomorrow in that race. So we'll talk about that, his visit to Kentucky Downs last week as well. All of that and more right after this.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
I will get to those Churchill races in just a second, but I had a piece of news yesterday that I said, I'll save it for tomorrow. But a nice story just a couple of days ago coming out of Massachusetts, Matt Haggerty in the Racing Forum writing that at least one of the former owners of Suffolk Downs is eyeing a new site for a boutique race meet in Massachusetts. So this could be fun. They're talking about as early as next year, perhaps. And they have been putting slots money aside. There was legislation that said some of it had to be held for horse racing, and there's no horse racing. So this pot is built up over the last couple of years. And I think I read, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but I thought I read what the amount of money was. But they're saying purses for each day of racing would average $750,000 to $800,000. They're looking maiden special weights going for $75,000. It would be all turf racing. They're looking at something similar to what you see down at Kentucky Downs with their boutique meet. But they're talking about like 4 days potentially next year. And I'm looking for the exact, they're calling it the Great Meadowbrook Farm, and I looked it up. I want to say it's in Hardwick, Massachusetts, and I looked it up from Albany. It's about 2 hours. It's kind of between Springfield and Worcester. So fairly easy drive for us. If they would look to do something next year, again, fairly short. The first date the planners are eyeing are September 9th and 10th next year. With also the possibility going September 30th and October 1st. So it's looking at maybe 1 or 2 weekends next year that would happen right after the Saratoga meet. It's not a done deal. They still need to get all the okays from the locals and whatnot. The facility they're looking at would have this short window of racing and then be kind of an equine facility for layups and maybe foaling or whatnot. So again, it's not a done deal by any means, but it seems like it could be kind of fun and interesting to keep our eyes towards the east and our ears to the ground and see if we do get a return to racing in Massachusetts. Again, in a location that kind of, fairly convenient to us, a couple hours up the Mass Turnpike, and looks like up the Mass Turnpike and take a left, and we can enjoy some racing maybe for a few days after Saratoga in our own Kentucky Downs-like setting. So we'll see how it works out. All right, let's go back to the action, and we'll kick things off and kind of work our way back. Yesterday, the Pocahontas Grade 3 event, $300,000 up for grabs. 8.5 furlongs. And again, I always say it, I think these fall meets, September and then the traditional fall meet at Churchill produce really nice, salty 2-year-olds to watch going forward as 3-year-olds. We'll see what comes out of yesterday's action in the Pocahontas for the 2-year-old fillies. It wound up being fun and feisty. I had that one down in the mix a little bit. A horse on the improve, clearly, for Ken McPeak. Had won a maiden breaker on that lone day of racing in the summer at Churchill, that Arlington Million Day. Fun and feisty is going to be the number 10 horse. Number 4, Shoplifter, second. Number 5, Grand Love, third. I like Grand Love in here. I thought that one could be interesting. And that horse went off as the favorite. And I had question marks written next to the morning line on Grand Love of 9-2. I thought the Asmussen runner, coming out of the nice debut, went up at Saratoga, was going to take more action than that, and did. Went off as the favorite. Grand Love had the lead for a while and then faded to be third, but it was the second start. First time around 2 turns. Grand Love, to me, was validated the Saratoga form maybe a little bit better than Echo Again did. We'll see that one a little bit later. That was unfortunately disappointing, but all that said and done, number 10, Fun and Feisty. 4th career start, first time stretching out, steps out of maiden company. Chart margin here is going to be over 3 lengths. Goes off at 6-1, $14.46. So it was a nice win for the Ken McPeak trainee, Julian Lepereau, on board. And again, I think these 2-year-old races at Churchill can be salty. We heard Scott Shapiro say yesterday, though, he talked about, and I would agree, this September meet maybe not as productive, at least on the stakes side. The Pocahontas and the Iroquois, I don't know whether that has been as productive as maybe what's coming up in the traditional fall meet later on. So we'll see what happens with these going forward. Not to say they won't be nice horses, just saying, I don't know whether we're looking at Oaks or Derby runners necessarily. We'll have to see if these horses can move forward and kind of validate what we saw yesterday. In the race just prior, it's the Louisville Thoroughbred Society. I like Necker Island. I had Isolate in the 2nd spot and then Miles Head in the 3rd spot, and they were all right there. This is a ding-dong finish. Necker Island's going to be the number 4, Isolate the number 6. Isolate was the favorite, and Miles Head ahead the number 5, and they're all right there at the wire. You can see Miles Ahead kind of shifts out a little bit here under Martin Garcia, and he will just get the bob at the wire. Oof. They took a long look at that. When I watched live here on the show, and particularly when I watched the first kind of replay coming under, it looked to me like it was 5-6-4, but it was one of those where hold your tickets. Subsequently, though, it was Miles Ahead getting it done. It's a nose and a nose on the chart between 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd. So, as I say, I had it in a different order, but I can't complain. Got the run, just didn't get the bob with Necker Island, but Miles Ahead was certainly very playable for Paul McGee. They were talking about, where do you go next? And they said, you just kind of let's sit on this victory and kind of enjoy it. That was, this is a nice little runner for Paul McGee and the ownership group. Career win number 12, in career start number 25. They put well over $500,000 in the bank. So again, kind of runner you want in your barn, and particularly after a win like that, nice gutsy win like that yesterday at Churchill. In the Iroquois, these were the 2-year-old boys. I alluded to this one earlier. After the phenomenal victory by Echo Again up at Saratoga, I had the land here. One with a 94 buyer figure. Damon's Mound, the number 3, came out of the Saratoga Special. Victory, undefeated, 2 for 2. So Echo Again's the number 9. Damon's Mound's the number 3. Curly Jack I had in the 3rd spot. Goes out for Tommy Amos. And I thought this horse was going to be interesting. Won the career debut at Churchill. And then they got ambitious and tried the Sanford up at Saratoga and wound up 5th behind Mo Strike. subsequently returned to Kentucky and over at Ellis Park ran a close-up second in the stake, the juvenile there, as the favorite. But the Ellis runners, I've been saying, going to be interesting to see how the Ellis runners do at the meet. So far, so good. This one coming in from that Ellis stake validates the talent and the ambition shown in the last two stakes races. And Curly Jack gets it done at a generous 10-1, 5-1 on the morning line. Gets it done. Hone runs second. Jace's Road, who I thought was a little bit live, runs third. But as I say, maybe worth watching the Ellis runners. And again, we can see here it was a disappointing effort from Echo again. The number 9 horse winds up running seventh in the field of 9. And Damon's Mound was sixth in the field there. And you can see that is Echo again in front, but just gets swallowed up late. So maybe some distance limitations. It was only the second start. We'll see, but certainly not promising for continuing on a 2-turn trip. But we will see. And I didn't check this morning again. When I looked last night, I didn't see anything noting possible excuses or whatnot. Maybe I missed, but we'll follow up on that as well. But again, mentioning Ellis, maybe worth keeping your eyes on those Ellis runners. And I mentioned I'm really intrigued to see Colonial Downs runners and how they do at the various venues. But the Ellis runners are maybe interesting coming out of that meet. And this was a 1-2-3 trifecta for horses who had started at Ellis Park in their previous starts. And it was a nice little trifecta, 50 cents. You got almost $900. So again, that might be worth paying attention to the Ellis runners going forward. And in the Locust Grove, it's scratched down to a field of, I'm turned one page too many. Let me hit on the Locust Grove. Locust Grove, I had played hard on top, Phil Bauer. Phil Bauer, who was so hot up at Saratoga, continues here. Played Hard's going to be the number 5 horse that you can see is already in the lead and winds up winning by just about 6 lengths. Crazy Beautiful runs second. En Voutante disappoints, running 5th in the field of 5. But the Played Hard won and won the way she did by almost 6 lengths. This was kind of a salty field. En Voutante and Crazy Beautiful are battle-tested in stakes company. So the Phil Bauer runner had tried some stakes at the end of last year, and not too bad. Tried the Alabama last year and wound up running 5th behind Malathat. But subsequently in a couple of stakes ran well. This year had not tried stakes company in 3 prior starts. Back into stakes company, running well. Phil Bauer interviewed after the race, and again, he was also of the, let's kind of enjoy this victory before we decide what's next. But that was a pretty, again, as I say, with En Voutante, Crazy Beautiful in there, some legit runners, and that was a legit victory against legit runners as Phil Bauer continues what he was doing up at Saratoga. The very impressive Saratoga he had, the high percentage. Limited number of starters, but high percentage. We had him in on Racing Across America, maybe 3/4 of the way through the meet, and it was some meet for Phil Bauer. Churchill's 7th yesterday was the Open Mind. That was the one that this one scratched down to a field of 3. It was a nice field of 3. Talked about this yesterday with Scott Shapiro. I was envious that he'd be able to see a rematch of Sconson and Bells the One, a couple of really talented female sprinters that also, like Churchill. Scott, like Joyful Cadence, is maybe a little bit of an upsetter of the two, who looked like the lone speed. That's kind of the way it played out. And in a short field, that's dangerous, but not for Bells the One. She gets the momentum going, wins by a chart margin of a length over Joyful Cadence. Sconson just couldn't get by the front runner late. Kind of, kept that one company for much of the latter part of the race, and then, didn't have the zip to get up into second. But Bells the One had the zip to get up into the winner's spot. Again, went off as the 54 cent to the dollar favorite. in the three-horse field and gets it done. Corey Lannery on board, Neil Pessin training. Bell's the one. And I liked Bell's the one in here. I thought, even when I was looking at the original field, maybe a tactical advantage with the outside post position as compared to Wisconsin, and she did get it done yesterday. All right, that'll take you through the stake section, so we'll head to another commercial break. When we come back, we will be joined by Steve Bick on the road. We'll get some updates on where he's been and where he's headed and more right after this. Stay tuned.
Having trouble finding us? It's actually quite simple. Whether online or on your TV, it's never been easier to watch and wager on championship horse racing with Capital OTB. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com. There you can watch our morning shows, live stream races, and wager on our state-of-the-art wagering platform. You can also watch from the comfort of your home on Spectrum Cable Channel 1250 or Fios Channel 467, and win more with Capital OTB.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. And yesterday was Racing Across North America because we talked a little Woodbine. Today it's Racing Across America, very literally, because we're phoning in to Steve Bick on the road, literally racing across America as he has been for about a week and a half now. Steve, good morning.
Seth, good morning. Good morning, Capital District.
And a slightly belated but a happy anniversary to you and Tina.
Well, thanks so much. Yesterday and 11th anniversary. First time we've been apart, actually.
Uh-oh.
And that was a little, it just didn't make sense for her to come to Louisville yesterday. We're going to be in Philadelphia this weekend instead for the Pennsylvania Derby Cotillion. And so we'll celebrate our anniversary there.
That makes the reunion all the sweeter, I suppose. So very good. And I was going to say you started your road trip, and we'll kind of work our way through because you've been bouncing around to the various venues, and you're headed to a few more still to come. But I was going to say you started it right after Saratoga, but you actually didn't you head out on Labor Day?
I did leave on Labor Day because I needed to be at Kentucky Downs by Wednesday. And so off I went, and things started out great because it occurred to me for Tuesday morning I needed to do the show. And so I checked with Todd Mostoller from HPPA in Pennsylvania. So I found myself Tuesday after Labor Day, I found myself at Presque Downs and did the show from Presque Isle. Actually got a chance to have on, some local personalities and horsemen and jock agent and Paula Bacon. It was a lot of fun, and they invited me back for tomorrow for Masters. So I'm on my way back to Presque Isle after the Kentucky side of the trip.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit too, and maybe preview a little bit of the Masters in a few. But Dino, when I came in the studio the next day, Dino said, Dino from the control room said, hey, I saw Steve on the Presque simulcast yesterday. So, yeah, nice way to start the trip. But let's move over to Kentucky Downs, because I think a lot of people are enjoying and have enjoyed the meet there, and are looking with kind of envy and thinking, hey, I'd like to go out there. And I know we have some pictures that you took in the paddock, and Steve Asmussen and Wayne Catalano and whatnot. Picture, I'm guessing, from doing the radio show, our friend Tim Wilkin amongst the group. He was looking forward. He was going to head out right after the Saratoga meet to help with the coverage down at Presque Isle. So we'll roll through some of these after Saratoga. He was headed down to Kentucky Downs. But we'll roll some of the pictures here. Give us some of your impressions of Kentucky Downs, and is it worth the trip? I'm imagining the answer would be yes.
Well, of course it's worth the trip. It's ridiculous. Of course it's worth the trip. And it's completely unique. You know, one of the things about that photo you just included, Tim Wilkin is there. Do you notice the very tall man next to him?
I'm looking now. Yes.
Yeah, that's Dan Issel of the Denver Nuggets and the Kentucky Colonels and the University of Kentucky, an absolute Hall of Fame legend. And has his own radio show in Kentucky. And Dan was doing the show Thursday when I was there, so we had a chance to have him on our show. Rick Hammerly and I, that's Rick Hammerly on the far left. Hammer, was completely tickled to have Dan Issel as well. I mean, I've never been a huge basketball fan, but I mean, Dan Issel was an absolute monster. In fact, in a lot of ways, Issel is very important. He's really the first big man to shoot from outside and become an outside threat when the three-point line, which was developed in the ABA, Dan Issel was as good an outside shot as there was. We had a fabulous conversation with him. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and Wilkin played basketball out at St. Bonaventure, so he must have enjoyed the visit with Issel as well.
Oh, no doubt. It made for a very fun atmosphere. That picture you see of Steve Asmussen and his son and the Catman, and that's Florent Giroux in there. That just gives you a feel for the atmosphere around Kentucky Downs. It's very casual. Everybody kind of hangs out. The horsemen, they're all there and enjoying themselves. It's really a unique venue. The hill is laid out in front of you. There's a big, long sort of, I guess it's like a pavilion roof that everybody sits under, and they have like a kind of a casual buffet for food service. It's just so worthwhile. You're 25 minutes north of Nashville, so you could use Nashville as a point of reference. You're 20 minutes south of Bowling Green, which is a wonderful town itself, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Second year in a row. This year, though, I was there for I was there for 4 cards out of the 7. So it was really another terrific meet. They had the 2 Sundays that got postponed more or less because of weather, but otherwise it was a great meet. Record handle, $80 million. Things just could not have been better. They continue to grow, and they I don't know. I mean, they're not gonna have extra days, but another 7-day meet is planned for next year. But it's a fabulous venue, and people would really enjoy it. It's very different.
Yeah, and we had put up earlier a couple of pictures that I pulled up that you put on Twitter. One was the horses coming down, and just the grass itself. It looks like a monstrous turf course that's a lot of fun. But also the bucolic paddock area was kind of interesting as well. It looks like farmland in the background. So I'd love to get down there, and maybe next year we'll make the trip down to Kentucky Downs.
Well, I will give you all the info you need.
Very good. So from Kentucky Downs over to the sales at Keeneland, and early on, Book One certainly was knocking it out of the park the way the Saratoga sale did this year. And again, some of the pictures I see, I have a picture of Al Gold down there, and I was seeing on Twitter Mike Rapoli was very active as well. Give us a little update on your visit to the sales.
Well, the 2 days I spent for Book One, Monday and Tuesday of this past week, it was remarkable. The sale is just a runaway freight train. The numbers are outlandish. They had $9 million hips on Monday, then another 9 on Tuesday. There were only 15 all of last year, and the most important numbers are relevant going back to 2007. Basically, every mark that's being hit is pre-economic meltdown. So basically, 15 years down the road, the industry is back up in terms of bloodstock value. It's back up to where it was at one of its peaks. Business could not be better, and the demand for top horse flesh could not be better. You mentioned Mike Rapoli. The situation with Rapoli is repulsive. It's disgusting, and for him to be buying all these hips, and basically just locking out any other prospective owner, is kind of obscene. And I can tell you that there's going to be backlash, and there's already tremendous resentment from other prospective owners, that all of these 60 horses that are going to go to Todd Fletcher, it's kind of disgusting, and he should be embarrassed, actually. And I think it's a huge problem, and I'm going to be very interested to see what kind of treatment this gets on a wider basis, because for those of you that speak Yiddish, there's a term, a chaza. Go look it up. He's being a chaza, and it's disgusting.
I will say I was kind of amazed when he tweeted out the number of horses he was buying. I'm interested that there is that buzz and that backlash, but given what I read, I guess I'm not surprised about that. Let's talk a little bit about. You have since moved on to Churchill Downs, and we had a picture we saw a couple of minutes ago. Give us a little update. I talked to Scott Shapiro yesterday from Churchill, and we kind of briefly alluded to it because they have a new TV set, which they've done because they're updating the paddock down there. Give us a little update on what you saw, because you're a longtime visitor down there. You've been going to Churchill for years and years and years. What do things look like with the renovation underway?
Well, it's a wholesale of evil. I mean, the paddock, what everyone knows as the paddock, is being completely gutted and turned in the other direction. The paddock is now going to emanate from underneath the Twin Spires outward, as opposed to facing the Twin Spires. The size of the actual grounds are going to, I forget what the square footage. I think it's going to be 5 times larger, maybe even 6 or 7 times larger. And there's going to be almost like a stadium-style atmosphere in a semicircle overlooking the paddock. It's going to be remarkable. It's not going to be done for this May. It'll be done for Derby 150 in 2024. But the constant wholesale changes at Churchill are remarkable. The first turn, I don't know if they showed it on television yesterday, but the first turn now has this whole girder structure that is going to be a permanent section, as opposed to sort of semi-permanent or bleacher-style seating, and some tent service. There's going to be a very upscale seating area now on the first turn. So virtually every available spot on the property is being merchandised essentially and reconfigured to maximize the opportunity for Oaks and Derby and ultimate and Breeders' Cups as well as soon as that turf course gets straightened out. But people that have not been to Churchill Downs, let's say from about 2015, if you go, let's say starting in 2024, you will barely recognize the property. It's going to be a completely new and overhauled version of Churchill. And you're right, Seth. I've been going since 1999. And I consider myself fortunate that I was able to attend, the races at Churchill with the old building, because I can really remember what it was like, and I'm glad of that, because and that's not to say that anything they're doing takes away from what the property is. They've enhanced it with every single innovation. They have enhanced Churchill Downs. One thing that's unbelievable for those that used to go to Derby, you couldn't move. When they had 110,000, you couldn't move. Now they can do 160,000, and there's no crowd. Everybody is spread out so beautifully, and they've managed to basically put people in so many different areas that uncomfortable scenario doesn't exist anymore. It really is amazing, and they deserve a lot of credit. I know they come under tremendous criticism for certain business practices that as a corporation they engage in, but when it comes to making that building as comfortable and as conducive to a positive experience for Derby and Oaks, they have to be recognized and appreciated.
And that's the paddock we kind of got into that conversation with. But over on the other side, the winner's circle, and as I was doing the OTB Live handicapping show yesterday, the winner's circle for the Iroquois, and I think we have the winner's photo here, the winner's circle for the Iroquois. It's Mr. Steve Bick handing out the trophy to Tommy Amos. Talk a little bit about handing out the trophy yesterday for one of the stakes races.
Well, it was very funny because I spent the whole day with Dr. Joel Politi of Columbus, Ohio, of course, and of Serengeti Empress fame. And Joel and I sat earlier in the day upstairs in the stakes room, and he was bidding. You may have seen the tweet. He was bidding on horses at Keeneland. He was bidding online. And so, he was busy doing that. And in fact, he did pick up a $200,000 Omaha Beach filly that he felt was the hip in the sale that he liked the most. So he was very excited. Actually, that's a horse that Clarkland Farm, the breeder of Beholder, Fred Mitchell, bred this filly. And Joel was over the moon. And $200,000 was his budget, and he got her for $200,000. But we spent the whole day. Then Tom Amos showed up. He had been at the sale. So then Tom gets there with Colleen and their daughter Haley, who works for Breeders' Cup. So now I'm basically tagging along with the Amoses. And Amos had a horse in every single stake race yesterday. It was pretty crazy. Not everyone, but the last 4 stake races. And so they had asked me to hand out the trophy for the Pocahontas, and I said, of course, I'm happy to. But then Ben Huffman came to me in the paddock before the Iroquois, and he said, Steve, that we made a mistake. You're handing out the Iroquois trophy. So I thought, okay, great. And next thing you know, here's Amos winning with Charlie Jack, and I'm spent the whole day with Amos, and I'm handing him that beautiful Baccarat vase, the gorgeous trophy. So it was very funny, and I'm always, I tell you, there's a lot of thrills doing what we get to do, Seth. Being asked to hand out a trophy is really, I'm tickled by it every time, and I've been privileged to hand out some Grade 1 trophies, the Triple Bend in California. I had the opportunity for the Robert Lewis at Santa Anita, which turned out to be Baffert's 3,000th career win. And that was unbelievable. And the Bowling Green at Saratoga a couple of years ago, it's something that really makes you proud. And I just tickled to do it. So this was kind of a funny episode.
No, it was fun yesterday. As I say, I was in here doing the handicapping show, and I look up as they're showing the winners. Hey, there's Bick. He's giving out the trophy. Very good. So it was fun to see the winner's photo as well. And Dino had pulled up a screen cap we had yesterday of you in the winner's circle also. So that was fun. But we can't let you go because we have some photos as well. Whenever you're on a road trip, it's always included the food. And we have some shots here. Dino pulled up a shot you put up yesterday of your fish fry, which you bragged about. We also have a shot, I'm not sure what this, I probably should know, but the cheesy dish in here, I'm not sure exactly what that is. Explain the cheese load here. And you also have the shot from Shotgun Willie's. So talk about the food on the trip.
Well, it's not a... This trip does not produce, high brow kind of dining, which is fine with me because I do enjoy the other end of the spectrum probably more. Let's start with the cheesy thing.
We're looking at that now, but there's also oyster crackers behind it, which look like, I'm not sure how those go together.
That's Cincinnati Chili, and
okay.
That is at the premier Cincinnati Chili venue. I'm actually sitting in Cincinnati in my old neighborhood, East Walnut Hills. I got off the highway, and I'm right where I lived on East Walnut, around the corner from here. And on the way down, I stopped at Camp Washington, which is absolutely the best Cincinnati Chili parlor. That is a plate of spaghetti, kind of a thick spaghetti. Then there's the Cincinnati Chili, which is basically it's a Greek meat sauce, a very thin chili. Camp Washington has a nice chunky meat sauce, actually. The famous commercial parlors like Skyline and Gold Star is kind of a thinner version. But this is the meatiest. They put the chili on top of the spaghetti and then that thinly shredded cheese. That's a 3-way. If you add onions, it's a 4-way. If you add onions and kidney beans, that's a 5-way. And this is something that came out of Cincinnati during the Depression. It's an institution around here. The little thing to the left, that's a Coney Island. That's a Coney hot dog with the meat sauce and the cheese. What you do is you take a couple of bites of the chili spaghetti, and there'll be like a pool of chili liquid. You take those oyster crackers and you crunch those up and you drop them in, and it soaks up the excess liquid. There's a whole system to this, and then there's a very interesting mouthfeel. There's a crunch from the oyster crackers. Then there's the smooth chili. There's the spaghetti, and there's the cheese. It's a real unique experience, and some people absolutely hate it. They try it and they're revolted. They have no idea why it's popular. I am not that way. I adore it, and it's a treat whenever I come through. The place we found down in Nashville, I found a Texas barbecue emporium, a guy from Texas that is doing brisket and Texas Red Hots in Nashville. Nashville is an unusual barbecue town. It has its own sort of pork. It's got a pulled pork tradition with a little bit of an unusual flavor. This place, I'm a big brisket. I love pork, but I mean, I'm a pork-loving Jew, and I wanted to try this guy's brisket because it was supposed to be very good, and it was. So we found that, me and Rick Hammerly. The fish thing you're seeing, this is amazing because upstate New York, when I wrote for the Oneida Daily Dispatch, one of the great traditions in upstate New York, especially in central New York, is the fire department fish fries. And I thought that I'd been to good fish fries. This is a place that does fish on Saturdays in Louisville. It's Suburban Social Club. They've been doing it since 1919. Every Saturday from March to November, they fry cod, what they call Green River style. It's a cornmeal dusting. Seth, it is so fabulous. I can't even describe how great it is. Big white flaky fish with this dry, crisp, crunchy coating. That what you see there is a quote unquote sandwich. It's 2 slices of rye bread, and then there's 2 pieces of fish, like close to a half a pound, for $7. It's out of this world. What I do and what they do at Churchill, this is right on the other side of the backside of Churchill. And I discovered it about 10 years ago. And the horsemen, they all get like 5 pounds of fish every Saturday for their barn staff. And you get loaves of bread and pounds of fish and French fries. And Derby week, the Saturday before Derby, I always treat the communications department to a suburban fish fry luncheon. And it's so funny. Whenever I put this up, people say, Steve, where is this restaurant? Where's that seafood restaurant you talk about? It's not a seafood restaurant. It's a fish fry.
I love the sign in neon, now frying. That's great.
Exactly.
But I had to catch up on the food, though, and it was well worth it. Who knew that the Cincinnati Chili had to come with instructions? I will say that the dog looks better to me than the spaghetti. The spaghetti looks good. The dog, I think I'm into that. But anyway, we're running late, but before we go, I do want to give you a chance. I don't know if you've taken a look at the field yet, but again, tomorrow you'll be at Presque Downs. They have the Masters tomorrow. Grade 2 event for the Phillies and Mares, sprinting 6.5. And I pulled up a replay here of the Smart and Fancy up at Saratoga. The winner will be Caravel. Running second will be Change of Control. They'll face off again tomorrow in the Masters. It's a nice field of 11. Your thoughts on heading back to Presque Isle for Monday and the Masters?
Well, they're very excited, and they should be. They put together the best card in the history of the racetrack. And between the Grade 2 Masters and the ungraded mile, and then the 2 other stakes, then you fold in the the overnight races. They've got big full fields. It's going to be a fabulous day there tomorrow. They have a late start. They're sort of pushed back a little bit, so it's going to be a twilight evening kind of a slate. I have not hit yet, but I'm going to, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'll stay there overnight, watch the Eagle game after the races, and we'll do a recap show on Tuesday. I'm going to go visit the grandchildren on Tuesday afternoon in Rochester on the way home. I'll get a good 2 days at home, and then Friday we'll be coming to you from Philadelphia, from Ben Salem and Parks Racing, where a phenomenal Pennsylvania Derby is shaping up, now including both of the Brad Cox runners, Cyberknife and Tawny Port, Zandon, Heba, on and on. It's just an unbelievable field that has come together, is going to come together for the Pennsylvania Derby next Saturday at Parks.
Speaking of Cyberknife, and again, we had that picture earlier of Al Gold at Keeneland. How did he do at Keeneland? It seems like he's getting more into it over the past year or so.
Well, let's see. He sold Cyberknife for $10 million. He should be okay to maybe buy some more horses. He turned right around actually and bought one at Saratoga. He bought one of the top hips at Saratoga. But Al's got a very eclectic program. He breeds a couple He buys 2-year-olds, he buys yearlings. So, Al's all in, and Cyberknife is, his biggest horse, his biggest success. I've said many times he deserves as much success as anybody in recent memory. He was cheated by unscrupulous bloodstock people 20 years ago. He caught them, he exposed them, and a lot of people under that scenario leave the game. Al did not leave the game. He dug his heels in, and he's being rewarded here, and I couldn't be happier for him. He's one of the really good stories around the game.
Yeah, it was fun to watch the success of Cyberknife this year and see him, get to the winner's circle in some very big races. And given what he's buying now, that will be in the future as well. We'll let you go. We'll let you get back on the road. Travel safe. It was fun to get a little update on the road trip post Saratoga. And not done yet, as you say. You're on your way home, but a stop at Presque and then home, and then down to, I agree completely, shaping up to be a very, very nice Pennsylvania Derby and an undercard as well down at Parks. But appreciate it. Keep up the good work. We'll be tuned in on the radio side. And Steve, we'll talk again.
Seth, I appreciate it. Tina, if you're listening, happy anniversary, honey. I'm still your husband.
Steve, thanks. Again, travel safe. Steve Bick,
Sirius
and XM's at the races. You can check that out. Again, kicks back in tomorrow with great stakes recaps and whatnot. So check it out as he is continuing his on-the-road trip. Tomorrow, Presque Isle. And again, I will remind you, Presque Isle Masters in that big card tomorrow. Always fun when a Monday is shaping up like that to kick off the week. So tune in for that here on the network tomorrow as well. I'm going to wrap it up for Racing Across America for a Sunday morning. I'll be back in about an hour and a half or so to kick off OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon as we kind of take a deep breath but continue on after a huge Saturday yesterday. Hopefully you had a good day. We will continue here with more, again, in about an hour and a half or so. Don't forget, NFL Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Come on down, watch all the football action, and enjoy all the racing action as well here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, every Sunday throughout the NFL season. All right, Seth Merrow, Racing Across America, Sunday morning. Thanks for tuning in. As I said earlier, be back in about an hour and a half or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.
And their next fence, which is 5 from home. Who's got you now? Ferdia, Chemical Energy the outside. Ferdia got in a little close there. Matty's Mountain jumped up on the inside. As they turn and head across towards the 4th last fence. Who's got you now? In the lead, pressed by Ferdia, Chemical Energy on the outside of Matty's Mountain. Chemical Energy again got in close there and scrubbed along as they head on towards their next fence, which is 3 from home. Who's got you now? In the lead from Ferdia, Matty's Mountain, Chemical Energy trying to close on the outside. Behind them, Corner Cobra and Barnacullia. At the 3rd last, who's got you now? Ferdia jumping up on the outside. Chemical Energy as Ferdia made a mistake. Chemical Energy edges ahead as they head for the turn into the straight. Who's got you now on the inside? They've gone on a few lengths in front of Matty's Mountain. Then Ferdia, Barnacullia, Corner Cobra has dropped out to be the back marker. As they head up the straight with 2 to jump. Chemical Energy has stretched on, 5 or 6 in front of Who's Got You Now in second. Matty's Mountain is behind them. Chemical Energy over the 2nd last, out in front. Who's Got You Now? Matty's Mountain trying to stay on, down to the final fence. Chemical Energy over safely. Matty's Mountain staying on well in 2nd. Who's Got You Now 3rd. But as they run to the line, Chemical Energy will win the Strings and Things rated novice, completing a double for Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell. Matty's Mountain 2nd. Who's Got You Now 3rd. A long break back to Barnacullia, Ferdia and Corner Cobra.
Davy Russell and Gordon Elliott with victory again. This time with Chemical Energy. Well, back this morning. Wins it comfortably. Second for Maddie's Mountain. Third to Who's Got You Now. And fourth, number 4, Barnaculia. 5, 6, 3, 4. Chemical Energy. Well on top this afternoon. A winner at Fairy House last year. Only had the 2 runs this year, and 1 day shy of a 150-day layoff. Is back with a bang. That, of course, the chase before the big race of the day, the Kerry Group chase here at Listowel, with Ken Boy and Easy Game taking each other on. We're really looking forward to that still to come. This is a nice victory from the son of Well Chosen, though. Now 5 from 10 in his career, and I like the run from Matty's Mountain. Kept on going for Michael O'Sullivan, getting up to